Hey everyone, welcome to another part of this Menat guide. In this part, we're going to be covering defense, which, in my opinion, is the most important part of learning Street Fighter V. For me, everyone in this game, or I should say most people, go straight to learning offense, set play, V-trigger stuff. But there's usually a distinct lack of focus on defense. And I feel like, for me, in my personal view, defense is what separates players by level, because defense is when you start to develop your understanding and knowledge of the game. So if you're not even a Menat player watching this guide, I want you to be able to look at this video and say, okay, well, I can use some of the stuff Shiv is talking about to apply to my own character. I am going to really be talking about Menat's defensive options, but a lot of it's going to be applicable to other characters, so don't feel like I'm just neglecting anything here. I'm really putting in a lot of thought into defense because it's something that I like to focus on a lot. So with that being said, let's get into this part, and I'm going to show you some of Menat's basic defensive options, and then we're going to also explain a bit more of the pros and cons of each. First button I actually want to talk about is Menat's stand light kick. So Menat's stand light kick is her fastest button. It has 3 frames of startup, and it's going to be a button that you're going to want to use on defense, either on wake up, in specific situations where your opponent is 0 or -1 and has a free frame, and also for checking certain bits of pressure. So I'm going to show you guys right now what I'm talking about. And to use this as an example, I've set Rashid to do overhead into 3 frame. The reason I've set the dummy Rashid to do this is because on hit, Rashid's overhead is actually 0. That means if you have a 3 frame, you can press that and get a trade at worst with Rashid. So I'm going to demonstrate that right now. I wouldn't have gotten that trade if I had pressed the 4 frame or if my character didn't have a 4 frame normal. And in those kind of situations, I feel like stand light kick is really useful. And then I kind of want to show that it means that stand light kick has more uses than just a wake up normal that you can just spam with Menat. Because I feel like a lot of people just look at defense in the case of, do you have a 3 frame and do you have a DP? And I don't really agree with this because I feel like you can use so many different tools as defensive options in this game, and it adds different layers. So I showed off the stand light kick there, but now I want to show off where stand light kick is actually not beneficial to use. Okay, so to show off the weaknesses of stand light kick, as you can see, I've made Menat as the dummy character this time. So on block, I have her set to press her 3 frame stand light kick. Now, if Fang does his forward heavy kick, he is actually +1 on block, which means that he is on frame advantage. But because he doesn't have a 3 frame normal, if you press your 3 frame normal and he presses his fastest button, you'll get a trade at worst, right? So if I'm going to demonstrate this now. Fang and I traded, right? However, this is where I'm going to show you the weakness of Menat's 3 frame stand light kick. So Fang's stand medium kick is 5 frames. Which means that due to the priority system in this game, where mediums beat lights, heavies beat mediums, if I press a stand medium kick and you press a normal that is... If I press a medium and you press a light and they clash on the same frame, the medium will win. So I'm going to show you guys now, after this forward heavy kick, I'm going to press stand medium kick on block, and even though by frames Menat's stand light kick should win, I'm going to show you what happens now. See, Menat got clean counter hit out. And the reason for this is because the range on her stand light kick is it's not the best. So even though Fang's stand heavy kick is +1, for some reason the stand light kick will whiff, right? Because of the range. So this is where the medium kick will come into play and will whiff punish her light. And then that goes to show you that Menat isn't able to challenge everything by frames because of the range on her stand light kick, which means that you're going to have to use something else as a defensive option. Which brings us to our next option. So, the next option I actually want to cover is backdash. Now, backdash is such a good option in this game to use because 1, it's invincible to throws. It will stop your opponent from certain strings and staggers that they might try to do. So if your opponent is doing a lot of walk forward buttons in your as part of their offense, if you backdash, you can sort of nullify this and force them to go for something more legit like that. But so then it creates a mind game. And a backdash can also be good in helping you to get out of certain pressure strings. So I'll show you. In the exact same example where we had before with Fang's forward heavy kick, you can see that the backdash, even though I got counter hit, got me an air reset and sort of got me out of that situation. Whereas if I had tried to check with my 3-frame, I was getting hit grounded and counter hit, which Fang could have followed up and punished me with and gone into more damage. At an even further range, you can see that the backdash will completely whiff and you will avoid the situation altogether. So then that gives you the option to manually confirm in this situation, right? Between if Fang is in a position where you would be able to trade with your stand light kick, or if he's too far away to make the medium kick, either he's going to use the medium kick so that you can either backdash it or just block, right? Whichever those two options you want to go for. Right. Staying on the topic of backdashing, I really wanted to show off this as a backdash. So if I have the dummy Menat set to backdash, I wanted to show a string that people commonly respect from Laura, which is stand heavy punch into EX clap. Do you see how good backdash is in getting you out of that mix-up? Because if I set Menat, for example, to not backdash and press her 3-frame, she gets hit out of her 3-frame and air reset for Laura to juggle, right? She gets put into a juggle state. So being able to backdash in between this string makes the Laura player forced to switch up their offense. So backdash is a very underrated option that I feel like many people should try to use and lab as much as possible to figure out when and where they can get out of certain situations. So I'm going to show you exactly what Laura has to do to beat backdash in this situation. Oh, that didn't even work? She has to be a little bit closer, so she should be about point blank and do it stand heavy punch twice. Which means that she has to do -2 into another 8-frame button, which leaves a 10-frame gap. If you read this, then that means that you can start to press buttons and interrupt Laura, and then that creates an even further mind game. So being able to mix up your offense is so important, because then it stops people from autopiloting and just doing stuff that they would otherwise be able to get away with for free if you didn't know. So I just wanted to show that on backdash really quickly. Perspective. You're playing Street Fighter V and you're fighting Karen Kanzuki, and she keeps on doing this to you, and you just feel like you're glued. So what can you do, right? This is what I'm going to show you guys now. And this option is Menat's 4-frame crouch light punch. So this button is one of Menat's better buttons, I feel like, on defense. We showed that even though it's a frame slower on startup than the 3-frame stand light kick, it has better range. And this is really where you can start to use this to blow up stagger strings. So I'm going to show you guys like exactly what I did before with Karen. Oh, this time I can't just do walk forward and then press more buttons. So now I'm forced to do actual frame traps, which then opens up a mind game. Is the Karen player going to do a frame trap, or is the Karen player going to stagger? You need to be able to show the Karen player that you're not just going to sit there and take all their stagger pressure, and you're going to mix up your defensive options really well. Because otherwise people get way too comfortable with being able to just stagger and keep you in blocking forever and then push you to the corner. So you're going to want to mix up your offense really well between checking with buttons and just backdashing, blocking, etc. to keep your opponent guessing on offense. Otherwise you become too predictable, and then they start to be able to do things like, I don't know, like that. And then you end up in situations like going to the corner faster. So I like to use crouch light punch in situations where I can blow up staggers. And as I spoke about in a previous video, I also feel like crouch light punch is really good to use, orbed, I should add, in neutral, because it doesn't have like, it doesn't really have a hurt box that people can whiff punish reliably. So it's a relatively safe button to throw out, and then it gives you enough time to react if the opponent jumps in on you. So you know how I love to use that in neutral? Well, I also do love that in defense. Actually, I would go on a limb here and say crouch light punch is my favorite button to press on defense. My opponent is pressuring me. I feel a bit desperate. I'm getting near stun. What can I do to get them off of me? So let's say I've been knocked down by Laura and I'm near stun. You can see that I can wake up with critical art, spending all 3 of my EX bars to get an invincible reversal out, as this is Menat's only option as an invincible reversal. Using this option as Menat is so good in making sure that opponents can't just openly pressure you, because I feel like when people knock Menat down, they feel like it's open season to attack her as much as possible because of her lack of invincible options. So using your critical art can be good in keeping them sort of honest. And don't feel like it's a scrubby tool. I feel like in the FGC, there's a lot of people that see Wake Up Critical and go, oh, that's so scrubby. You're spending 3 bars and your only defensive reversal, invincible reversal, right? It's not a scrubby tool. It's something that you're kind of going all in on. It's not something that you can just go, oh, well, I'm going to use this multiple times around. This is a I need to get out immediately tool. It's not a case where I can go, well, I'm going to use this now and I'm going to use it again later. Because unless you're able to build 3 bars again very quickly, you're probably not going to get that again in the round. So you need to be very careful of when you use this critical art. That critical art's not only just good on Wake Up though. As a defensive tool, it's great for interrupting fake strings. So earlier I showed you that Stand Heavy Punch EX Clap from Laura can be backdashed. But this is also something that you could do as Menat if you can react in time. And it punishes. So you can use your CA defensively to go through fake strings like that if you know your opponent's going to do it. And then it sort of creates a mind game. So as Laura, I would have to do this. Block. So if, as a Menat player, to look out for this, you're going to want to react to the flash. So when you see Laura flash with EX and the yellow and she turns yellow, then you react and do your reversal timing to CA. When I played against Sako in tournament, actually, I was playing Laura, he was playing Menat. What I would do was I kept on pressing Stand Heavy Punch and I realized that he was buffering. He was doing down forward and waiting for the flash and then just pressing the button to get out with a CA. Now he actually did hit me with that because I didn't think he was ready to react, but he was. So it did show to me that it was reactable, and it's something you might have to train a bit, but I would recommend it highly as a defensive option. The next option I want to cover is jump back, and this is specifically in mid screen, right? You want to jump back if you're mid screen and you're not cornered yourself, because if you're in the corner and you jump back, you're just going to keep yourself in the corner. Whereas if you're mid-screen, you can kind of get space in between your opponent, which is what you want as Menat. So I'm going to show this against Rainbow Mika, who has one of the scariest situations in the game after a command grab, right? If she command grabs you, she can get a dash up into another command grab legitimately, or a throw, like so. So if you take a command grab, it is actually probably better for you to either block if you think she's going to meet E, or do a jump back, because if she goes for command grab into regular throw and you've neutral jumped or jumped forward, she can get a punish on you. Whereas if it's a jump back, she can still punish you, but she has to have a bit of more readiness to punish that. And I think she actually has to use an EX bar to punish that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Mika needs an EX bar to punish a jump back. And a lot of times you'll find that players aren't necessarily ready to punish a jump back. So it is something that you're going to want to incorporate into your game. So how many times have you been in this position? You're fighting a Laura player and they keep going for dash command grab or command grab into shoulder. How many times have you guys been there? Because I know I've been there. So if we're sticking on this topic of jump back, I wanted to show you guys a little thing that you can do as Menat, or as any character in this game, against situations like this, where you can delay jump. So what I do is I wait for a very short amount of time, and this takes a little bit of practice. It allows me to wait for a bit and block if they do the elbow or another meaty, and if they go for a dash into throw a command grab, I get a jump back. So I'm going to show this again. I blocked the meaty, and you saw that I was holding up back for a long time there, because I blocked enough time to get the it's sort of an OS that's really good against characters like Laura that can use meaties and command grabs after a command grab. So I like to use that against Laura specifically, because fighting against Laura, it's hard to react to her dash. So even though her dash is actually minus after she does a command grab, because it's 17 frames, it's really hard for you to see that visually and react. Even as a Laura player myself, I can admit that. So using this option is actually really good, because then what it means is that the Laura player has to wait to see you delay jump back and then spend an EX bar to punish you, because she doesn't really get a punish without EX bar. So that's why I feel like delay jump back is such a really good underrated tool as a defensive option. Oh no, this scary top tier character has me in the corner and I am scared for my life. I don't know what to do. I'm taking a million throws and I feel like I can't press a button. Well, I'm going to show you guys how to sort of not completely prevent this situation, but make it a lot easier for yourself to deal with. And for this reason, I'm going to show you guys a thing called delay buttons. So you can use a delay button as a way to block if your opponent does a meaty, and challenge if they try to steal and go for a dash into a throw. For this, I'm going to use delay stand light kick, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what you can do against a character like Cammy. So what I do, you block for a few frames, which it requires a bit of timing. You do exactly what I have the opponent set to. You have the opponent throw you and then dash throw, and in another recording you have your opponent throw you and then walk forward meaty, so that it covers both options, right? So what I'm going to show you guys here is how to deal with this. So I'm waiting for Cammy to throw me. And you see, I delayed my stand light kick short a little bit to catch the jab, to catch the dash. And if she goes for the meaty, which I hope she does go for the meaty eventually, I'm going to set her here to just do it, because the recordings are random, so whichever one comes up first. Whichever one comes up. So I'm going to show you guys what happens if I delay my stand light kick. You see, I press my stand light kick around the same timing, and this time I block. So I'm covering both options here. If she decides to dash at me, I will hit her with my stand light kick. And if she decides to meaty, I will block in time. So that's the power of using delay buttons on defense. Your opponent then has to read that and go for something to blow up delay buttons. Whereas then you can start to do immediate buttons. So that's when you can start to implement the mind game of, is my opponent going to look for my delay, or are they going to look for my immediate button? Okay guys, so the actual next thing that I wanted to show you guys quickly before we went into our next defensive option was throw ranges. And you might be asking yourself, what do these strange numbers mean? Well, these just show the length of which each character's throw distance is, which is estimated by decimal points, right? So Alex has the best throw range in the game, and as you can see down here, these characters have the worst. So throw ranges differ from characters, and as you can see here, Menat has the 9th best throw range in the game, meaning that she has one of the best throw ranges out of the entire cast, and it's something that we need to use, right? Okay, with that being said, let's see what that means in terms of an actual game. So you've been hit with Laura's elbow, right? And you're thinking, oh no, I have to guess. And you're like, I'm gonna tech, they might throw me. And Laura decides, okay, no, I'm gonna shimmy you. But look what happens, because Menat has one of the best throw ranges in the game. Which means that you can sort of use your throw range to your advantage to blow up situations where your opponent may try to shimmy you, but their walk speed is their back walk speed is too slow, or they're too close to you after what they hit you with, so they can't shimmy you the traditional walk back way, which means they might have to neutral jump or delay button to catch your throw, or press an immediate button to catch your throw. If you do a delay throw, they would catch your button. They would catch your throw by doing a delay button, and if you do immediate throw, they would do an immediate button to catch your immediate throw. So that's when we start mixing up between immediate and delay throws. So having good throw range is actually a really underrated and not so much talked about defensive option in Street Fighter 5, because it helps you to get through some really annoying situations like this. As you can see, if Laura walks back here, usually I would get shimmied with as another character, but because Menat's throw range is so privileged, I can just throw her out of it. And this is also really good in some shimmy situations in the corner where opponents knock you down, because then if you wake up with an immediate throw and your opponent tried to shimmy you, they might get back thrown into the corner if you woke up with back throw. So I like to mix up immediate throw and delay throw quite a lot. Why would I ever do delay throw despite Menat's throw range? I'm going to show you now. So this is the actual elbow loop that they like to go for, right? So what happens if I mash throw tech? Oh well, I got counter hit. So now try and delay throw and see what happens. Oh, you see, I'm blocking in time. So I'm going to get hit by this. I'm blocking in time to cover the meaty. And if she doesn't do anything, oh no, I'm going to set her back to do this. I'm going to set her back to do her elbow. You can see that my delay throw would come out. But if she chose to shimmy me, then she would actually get to punish my delay throw. So we're seeing the strengths and weaknesses of both the delay throw and the immediate throw. You're going to have to mix those up again to keep your opponent guessing. And there's risk-reward scenarios of both. Risk-reward is a huge part of this game, and it's something that you're going to learn over time with playing. So don't stress about it too much at the start. Just be aware of your different options, and eventually it will all click for you. So you're fighting an Ibuki, and you're in this position. She's just throw looping you to death. You don't know how to get out of this. You just, you have to either tech. But I'm going to show you guys another option that you actually have. So, this is one of my favorites. And it's called jump back drill. Immediate drill. And it catches those kind of scenarios where it's a throw. It's because you're jumping and you're catching the throw and you're getting the drill, right? And what I love about this option is when you have V-Trigger 1 available to you, as you can see from what I'm about to show you next, it can lead to a lot of damage. So I love using instant drill to call out throws. The only thing is if you misspace it, you can be up to -6 on hit. So you need to be very careful. Maybe you'll use it when your opponent doesn't have much life left and they can't afford to take a drill. If you have V-Trigger 1 available. But it is really, really good. Another option I'm going to show you guys now is one of my other personal favorites using drill, and it's this. Jump out of the corner with drill. So I jump forward and I do light kick drill without even trying to space that and try and get the hell out of them. Trying to get as far away as possible from my opponent to get out of this corner. You would use this specifically when you're cornered by your opponent because it helps you to get back to the mid screen. If your opponent does read this though, they can get a punish on your landing frames. So you need to be careful. Once again, this is not a guaranteed option. It's a read and it's something that you're going to have to use sparingly. The last option I really wanted to go through is just block, bro. I know that this is, I've shown you a lot of options to avoid having to do too much blocking. But blocking is also so good in this game because it helps you to get out of a lot of situations. So I'm going to show you guys, like if you find a character like Bison and he's constantly plus, he's just putting you on the plus frames, right? You don't know when to press buttons against Bison. You're very scared. Bison's just keep on staying plus. Spending the EX bar, he's +3, he's using all of these plus buttons he has. You don't know when to press buttons. But realistically, you can use this information when you start to learn more about other characters' frame data to then understand when your opponent is stealing frames and when to interrupt. So Bison is +1 after this down forward fierce, right? Which means that he needs to frame trap you with his 3 frame stand light kick. If he was to do his 4 frame stand light punch and you pressed your 3 frame, you would trade. So if Bison players were to be constantly stealing or doing things like down forward fierce into medium, then you could start going, oh, alright, I'm gonna start pressing and checking your plus frames to make sure that you stay using the right frame traps that you should be using, like the stand light kick. And you can see after the stand light kick he's -2 if he doesn't cancel. Like that. He has to cancel, he has to start going legit or else he's gonna get punished for it. So you're gonna wanna just block V reversal. I know we didn't really talk about V reversal. We're gonna talk about V reversal in a second. We're gonna talk about her V reversal and V shift. But blocking, my point to you is blocking is so good in this game because it can give you information. And if you mix in blocking with the other defensive options that we've shown so far, then you can really keep your opponent on their toes going, ooh, I don't know what this guy's gonna do next on defense. I'm really concerned. And as you saw, Menat doesn't have a DP. So what that means is that she can't just burst out without CA and just do a reversal like other characters can. Therefore, if you can mix in the options I've shown you, you can still have a really threatening defense to your opponent without needing a DP to get out of situations. Man, I just got punished so hard for my V-reversal. This V-reversal sucks. Well, yeah, it's not the best V-reversal, but I'm going to show you guys some of the best ways to use this V-reversal. And yes, you can see here, if I just do a normal and you V-reversal, I get a guaranteed punish, right? This is one of the easiest V-reversals in the whole game to punish. It's actually harder to not punish that than it is to punish, right? So us Menat players, we don't really like using this V-reversal. I'm going to go give you a situation here where again using V-reversal is actually not too bad. So as Laura, if I do stand heavy punch EX clap, you can see that I'm recovering in time to block the next button. You see? Whereas if I was able to just do stand heavy punch usually, see how easy that is to punish. So you want to be able to use your V-reversal in a position where you can go through a normal into a special move, like when your opponent buffers. So you don't want to necessarily just V-reversal the special move late. You want to be able to V-reversal the normal that they do before the special move. And again, it's not a guaranteed thing. As you see, if I do just stand heavy punch without the EX clap, I get a punish. But if you have the read and you need to get out of the situation, you might need to do it, even if it gets you out the corner. Because the thing is with V-reversal, it also reduces the stun that you have. It reduces a bit of the stun when you activate it. So even if your opponent does punish, it does not, like, it does get you out of some of the stun situations that they could potentially have gotten otherwise. So I think V-reversal is actually a really underrated option. I'm going to show you another situation now where V-reversal is actually really useful. Menat's V-reversal can actually be quite useful in helping you to get out of certain situations and certain strings and get a full punish. Like for example, Dalsim. If Dalsim goes for back medium kick, into EX flame, I can actually interrupt this, or any flame at all actually, not even just EX flame. I can actually interrupt this by V-reversing the back medium kick and getting a full punish like so. So what I want you guys to do is to lab out Menat's V-reversal against certain character strings and see what you can and can't punish, because I promise you, it'll be a lot more than you'd expect. There's a lot of moves in this game where you feel like you can't punish it, but you actually can. So the final defensive option that I really want to cover in this video is the new mechanic that's been added to Street Fighter V Championship Edition, which is known as V-Shift. V-Shift is actually a defensive mechanic that Capcom added that is sort of like an invincible backdash, and I mean fully invincible, but it has its risk where if it doesn't proc the slowdown from a normal or a projectile, then you are in a counter hit state on recovery and you can be punished. But if you do V-Shift correctly, you proc the slowdown and you can either V-break or cancel into a normal. So how do you V-Shift? Well, similar to V-reversal, V-Shift comes available to you when you have 1 bar of V-gauge stored. So that can be from either doing V-skills, crush counters, or taking damage or blocking, right? When you have V-Shift, I'm using 1 bar, if you do it correctly, you're actually refunded half of the bar. So it is actually really encouraged to do V-Shift in this season. I'm going to show you, following this explanation, some of the really cool things that you can V-Shift in this game and punishes that you can get as a result, which wasn't necessarily available to us before. So I love the extra layers of defense V-Shift added. But first, I'm going to just demonstrate how to use V-Shift. So the inputs for V-Shift are actually medium kick and heavy punch, right? Medium kick and heavy punch at the same time. If you were to press medium kick and heavy punch with a direction, whether it be down, back, forward, down, forward, then you won't get the V-Shift to proc. So you need to be in neutral to get this V-Shift to proc, right? Which is kind of difficult because sometimes you might be blocking and then you want to activate your V-Shift and it's kind of hard to remember to go back to neutral. So it's something that you're going to need to practice kind of a lot to get used to, especially since it's such a new mechanic. You know, as of the time I'm recording this, the new season is only about 3 weeks old, so I don't want you guys to feel like V-Shift is something that you need to incorporate immediately, but it is something I would definitely like you guys to look at as an option, because it opens up extra layers of defense, it makes the game a lot more interesting, and it helps you to get out of situations a lot better. So now what I'm going to show you guys is how to activate your V-Break. So I'm going to show you the 2 ways you can do this. If you block this crouch medium kick at max range and you hold the V-Shift button, it will activate the V-Break. You can also activate V-Break by tapping the button twice. So those are the 2 ways to use your V-Break. Finally, you can use V-Shift as a way to cancel into a special or a normal, which, depending on what you're punishing, could be very important. So I'm going to show you how to punish Ryu's crouch medium kick into Fireball. As you can see, I get a CA. Now that was at max range, so that actually didn't punish. But I just wanted to show you guys that you could cancel off the V-Shift into a CA and then punish things that wouldn't necessarily be too easy to punish before. So as I said, after this explanation, I'm going to show you guys a list of things that you can punish as part of V-Shift. If you have any questions, direct them to me on my Twitch stream, Twitter, Discord, whatever you guys want to reach out, wherever you guys want to reach out, even in the comment section, and ask me, and I'll try and address it either by telling you or in another video. Thanks again everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoyed these things that you can V-Shift punish.